If you're receiving Social Security this July, don't assume your next payment will look exactly like the last one. The Social Security Administration has confirmed an important rule that could affect how some seniors receive their monthly benefits, and while it doesn't apply to everyone, it could make a significant difference for those who are impacted. The problem is that many retirees hear headlines about Social Security changes without knowing whether those updates actually affect their own checks. That confusion often leads to unnecessary panic, or even worse, missing an opportunity to protect your benefits. We quote Elle explain exactly what this new Social Security rule is, who needs to pay close attention, who doesn't need to worry at all, and what simple steps you can take before your next payment arrives. There's also one mistake many retirees make after receiving an official SSA notice, and avoiding that mistake could save you hundreds or even thousands of dollars over time. When people hear that the SSA has announced a new rule, many immediately think everyone's monthly payment is being reduced. That isn't what's happening. Your regular retirement benefit isn't automatically changing because of one blanket policy. Instead, the new rule mainly affects people who currently owe money back to the Social Security Administration because of an overpayment. If you've never received an overpayment notice, there's a good chance this rule won't change your monthly deposit at all. But if you've ever opened a letter from the SSA saying you were paid more than you should have received, even if that happened years ago, this update deserves your attention. Previously, the Social Security Administration generally limited how much it would withhold from a monthly benefit to recover an overpayment. In many cases, beneficiaries were allowed to repay that debt at a much slower pace, making it easier to manage everyday expenses like groceries, rent, utilities, and prescription medications. Under the updated policy, however, the agency can withhold a much larger portion of a monthly benefit, in certain cases to recover outstanding overpayments more quickly. That doesn't mean every affected retiree will automatically lose half of a monthly check, but it does mean the potential withholding amount can be significantly higher than many people expected. To understand why this matters, imagine someone named Linda. Linda is 72 years old and retired 5 years ago. A few years after she started receiving benefits, she took a small part-time job to help pay for rising grocery prices and medical bills. She reported her income, but because of a processing delay and later review, the SSA eventually determined that she had been overpaid. Months later, she received a letter explaining that she owed money back to the government. Under the previous repayment approach, the monthly deduction from her benefit might have been relatively manageable. Under today's rules, depending on her individual situation, the monthly withholding could be much larger, unless she requests a different repayment arrangement. Receiving an overpayment notice does not automatically mean the SSA made the correct decision. Mistakes can happen. Records can be incomplete, earnings can be reported incorrectly, or important information may have been misunderstood. That's why every beneficiary has the right to carefully review an overpayment notice, instead of assuming there's nothing they can do. If repaying the full amount would create serious financial hardship, you may also have options to request a lower repayment rate, or even ask for a waiver in certain situations. The key is responding promptly rather than ignoring the letter. They see an official government envelope, feel overwhelmed, and set it aside for later. Weeks turn into months, deadlines pass, and they lose valuable opportunities to challenge the decision or negotiate a repayment plan that better fits their financial situation. That's why reading every notice from the Social Security Administration carefully is one of the most important habits any retiree can develop. Another reason this topic is generating so much attention is because scammers often take advantage of major Social Security news. Whenever the SSA announces policy updates, fraudsters quickly begin calling seniors, pretending to represent the government. They may claim your benefits are about to stop unless you verify your bank account, send money, or purchase gift cards. Remember this, the Social Security Administration will never demand immediate payment through gift cards, cryptocurrency, or wire transfers. If someone pressures you over the phone using those methods, it's almost certainly a scam. When in doubt, hang up and contact the SSA directly using the official number listed on its website or on your previous benefit statements. Before we continue, if you enjoy simple, easy-to-understand explanations about Social Security, retirement benefits, IRS updates, and financial changes affecting seniors, take a moment to like this video and subscribe. Our goal is to help retirees understand what's actually changing, without the confusing legal language or misleading headlines that often create unnecessary stress. If you're receiving your regular Social Security retirement benefit, you've never received an overpayment notice, and you don't owe any delinquent federal debt that's legally subject to collection, your July payment will most likely arrive just as expected. That's why it's important not to panic simply because you've seen dramatic headlines online. Many videos and social media posts make it sound as though every senior in America is about to lose part of their benefit. That's simply not how these rules work. The Social Security Administration applies these policies to specific cases, not to every beneficiary across the country. Imagine James, a 74-year-old retiree living in Florida. Every month he receives his Social Security retirement benefit through direct deposit. He's never received an overpayment notice, has no outstanding repayment agreement with the SSA, and carefully reports any information the agency requests. James watches a news clip claiming that the government is taking up to 50% of Social Security checks. Naturally, he becomes worried and immediately checks his bank account. But after reviewing his My Social Security account, he realizes nothing has changed because the policy doesn't apply to him. This happens to thousands of retirees every time a major SSA policy update makes headlines. The lesson is simple. Don't assume a national announcement automatically changes your personal benefit. Now let's talk about something equally important, how overpayments happen in the first place. Many people assume an overpayment only occurs because someone intentionally gave false information. In reality, that's often not the case. Sometimes a beneficiary returns to part-time work and their earnings aren't updated quickly enough. In other cases, a disability status changes, family circumstances affect eligibility, or administrative delays lead to incorrect payment amounts. Months or even years later, the SSA reviews the file and determines that more money was paid than should have been. That's when an overpayment notice is issued. If you ever receive one of these letters, the worst thing you can do is ignore it. Instead, read every page carefully. Pay attention to the amount the SSA says you owe, why they believe the overpayment happened, and what deadlines are listed in the notice. If something doesn't seem right, gather your records. Pay stubs, tax documents, bank statements, or previous correspondence with the SSA may help clarify the situation. Many retirees assume they have no choice but to accept the decision immediately, but that's not always true. Depending on your circumstances, you may be able to request reconsideration, ask for a different repayment schedule, or, in certain situations, request that the overpayment be waived because repayment would create serious financial hardship. Financial hardship is an important concept that many people overlook. Think about someone like Carol, a 70-year-old widow whose monthly Social Security check covers nearly all of her living expenses. After paying rent, utilities, groceries, insurance, and prescription medications, very little money is left each month. If a large portion of her benefit was suddenly withheld, she might struggle to afford basic necessities. That's why the SSA has processes allowing beneficiaries to explain their financial situation, instead of assuming every case should be handled exactly the same way. Knowing your rights is just as important as understanding the rule itself. There's another reason to pay attention this month, and it has nothing to do with overpayments. Every July, many retirees become confused by payment schedules because holidays and weekends can affect when deposits are made. It's easy to assume something went wrong when your payment arrives a day earlier or later than expected. In most cases, however, these changes simply reflect the official payment calendar rather than any reduction or suspension of benefits. Checking the official payment schedule before worrying can save a lot of unnecessary stress. If you receive supplemental security income, or SSI, there's another calendar detail worth remembering. Occasionally, the first day of a month falls on a weekend or federal holiday. When that happens, the payment for that month is issued on the last business day of the previous month. That means some beneficiaries may see 2 deposits during one calendar month. While seeing 2 payments can feel exciting at first, it's important to remember that the second deposit is usually next month's benefit, arriving early, not extra money. Spending both checks immediately can create financial problems when the following month begins, without another deposit arriving on the first. Let's imagine Robert, who carefully plans his monthly budget. When he notices 2 deposits in the same month, he doesn't assume he's received a bonus. Instead, he sets the second payment aside because he understands it's intended to cover next month's expenses. That simple habit prevents unnecessary financial stress and helps him stay on track throughout the year. Small budgeting decisions like this often make a much bigger difference than people realise. While we're discussing benefit payments, it's also worth mentioning something many retirees forget after they begin collecting Social Security. The SSA regularly sends notices explaining adjustments, tax information, Medicare premium changes, and other updates. Too often, those envelopes are left unopened because people assume they're routine paperwork. But occasionally, those letters contain information requiring action within a specific time frame. Reading them promptly can prevent misunderstandings and help you respond before important deadlines pass. Many seniors wonder whether a delayed bank deposit automatically means there's a problem with Social Security. The answer is usually no. Banks sometimes process deposits at different times during the day, weekends can delay availability, and federal holidays occasionally shift payment dates. Before assuming your benefit has been reduced or suspended, compare the date with the official payment schedule and check your My Social Security account for any messages or notices explaining a change. One of the biggest mistakes retirees make is relying entirely on social media posts or forwarded messages from friends. Every month, rumours spread claiming that everyone will receive a bonus payment, an emergency stimulus check, or a surprise increase in benefits. Most of these stories are either exaggerated or completely false. Before making financial decisions based on something you saw online, verify the information through official SSA communications or trusted reporting. Taking just a few extra minutes to confirm the facts can prevent unnecessary worry and costly mistakes.